Nathan. I am the executive director at Crystal Lake Camps, and here on our first stop of our virtual tour of camp, this is the lakeside of Laughlin Lodge. Um, this building dates actually to the late 1800s, about 1899, we believe, is when it was constructed. And so there's some really cool stuff on the inside that we'll go in and see in a minute. But this is part of the original part of the property, and it was here as part of a larger kind of resort community that was built here at that time for local people to come and sort of escape the heat of down in the valley, because we're way up on a mountaintop up here at camp. And so it's much cooler and more pleasant during the summertime. And so this was built as one of the sort of VIP residences during that time. Later in its iteration, it was this part of the camp property was subdivided off of that resort and became a private residence and hunting area for a family until the camp purchased it in 1949. And since that time, it originally served as both housing and as the camp dining room. And over the years, we've built other facilities for those things here at the camp. And so now it serves as partly of our office, and then some rooms that we have available for guests and staff during the summer, and rent out for on-site guests during the rest of the year. But this is Laughlin Lodge. It's also a very popular place to sit, the porch, and there's lots of rocking chairs there. People love to sit out here, and you have a great view of the lake, which is behind you right now, but in front of me. And it's just an awesome way to spend an evening or a morning praying or reading or just enjoying the view. Okay, so now we're going to turn and let you see the waterfront and the main parts to the waterfront for camp. So here you can see that there is the big T-dock, and at the end of that T-dock is the main deep end swimming area for anyone who's here doing any water activities. Over my shoulder behind me are all the canoes and the kayaks that we have. Those are welcome to go out anywhere in the lake when a boating class is being offered. And then over to your left will be the shallow swimming area that younger or at least less experienced swimmers will go and have swimming lessons and a chance to swim there, where it's not particularly deep here just off of our beach. But this is the main Crystal Lake itself, the actual Crystal Lake. Out there on the lake, you can see that there is a slide on a slide float. There's a big float in the back center where people can hang out there and then jump off back into the swim area. And then to the right side is a aqua mat, or just a big mat that floats on the water that people can hang out on there as well. So that's the waterfront. So this is the lodge living room, and this is the fireplace area. There's a seating space here, which is great for meetings. Some classes and activities for campers will happen here. Also, girls camp, when they have their testimony meetings, they do it in this room. And this is just this old historic part of the lodge building that we were just showing you from outside that dates back to the late 1800s. And it's just a very cool kind of old building. And there's just a lot of seating space, and then there's this great stairwell that goes upstairs to where the guest and staff rooms are upstairs. And the old original birch log railings still exist on the stairwell from when the building was constructed, well over 100 years ago. It's all worn smooth though from all the years of use, and just a really comfortable, cozy place for people to spend time doing whatever is being done in this room. So here's the lodge living room. So here we're now in what we call girls camp, and there are 4 cabins for girls, which we also use for families during family camp, plus a bathhouse and a couple other accessory buildings here for girls camp. So in girls camp there are, like I said, 4 cabins. Kaya, which is the one directly behind me that you can see here, plus Atira, Waiala, and Nikahu. Kaya, this building was built in 2003, although there was a previous version of Kaya that originated with the property when the Alford family bought this facility. And then the other 3 cabins were rebuilt as brand new buildings starting in 2019. The bathhouse is still original and will get renovated at some point in the not distant future. And then in addition to the main girls' cabins, There is in the distance, you can see Nasoni, which is where the practitioner and camp mom stay. And there's also a quiet room there for girls if they need to be out of program. And then the lodge is through the woods a little bit there, where the office and the guest rooms are that we've already shown you. And just then some open grass fields here and lawns for people to enjoy. So this is the main activity area at the center of camp. Right behind me is Alford Hall, named for the Alford family who founded and grew Crystal Lake for its first 60 years of existence. It was built as the dining hall structure in 1971, and it's been in use since then. Inside it's pretty cool because one of the hallmark parts of Crystal Lake Camps is our international program, and we hang a flag for every country when a camper or staff comes from a new place around the world. So in a minute we'll see what that looks like on the inside. But here to the side of Alford Hall is the Longhouse, which was one of the original buildings to the property, and serves as now arts and crafts, as well as storage for all of our out camp or backpacking equipment. And then in the wintertime is actually the hub for the ski shop and the outdoor center that we have here on site. And then to your right is the outdoor stage, which is just basically now a place where we store sports and other equipment for use during camp programming. And to the far side back here, which you'll see in a minute, are the tennis courts and just other athletic areas, plus the big game field, which is where there's lots of activity, sports, games, get-to-know-you games at the start of each session. It's just a general all-purpose field for us to use for any camp program here. And this is at the end of Crystal Lake from the opposite side where the lodge and office were that we started this video. So you get a nice view down the lake from here. So this is the main central part of camp. So this is the Longhouse, and as I said a moment ago, this is where arts and crafts takes place during the summertime, and also some storage for equipment and things that happen in the building. And in the wintertime is the ski shop and the main activity center for the outdoor center. This, however, before Alford Hall was built, was the main dining hall for camp. Initially, I indicated that the dining took place in the lodge for camp when it first opened, which is true in 1949 when the camp opened, and for the first few years of camp. And then they moved it into this building for all the dining services until the Alford Hall was built in 1971. So about 20 years that camp used this as the main dining hall, actually. At that point, boys and girls would eat in different shifts. And all of camp programming was separated by boys and girls. And then in 1971, when Alford Hall was built, they unified all the programming into a co-ed program for all ages at that point. And so that was a big change point in the history of the camp, was 1971 when they unified all the programming into that one set instead of boys and girls being separated. So here we are at the stables. So behind me is the barn, obviously, and the paddock that goes around the barn. And then there's also a larger ring for teaching and instruction that the stables instructors use. In the barn, we have space for up to 8 horses, although typically we have only about 6 in our herd in a given summer, plus some space in the aisle and some teaching room in the back and some other storage in there as well. But this building was built in the mid-90s, but it's a really beautiful spot, and it actually overlooks the second lake that we have on our property, Wild Rice Lake, down to the side, which you're not going to be able to see from here, but it is actually very close to us as well. So it's a beautiful, quiet spot here, just removed off the center of camp. So here we're making our way from the dining hall game field area up towards boys camp, and partway up the hill is the climbing wall. And just a pretty standard climbing wall outdoor, just usually 4 or 5 established routes that we have on it during camp for the summertime. So not a real big one, but it's pretty awesome. Very much a highlight for a lot of campers, and a lot of fun times are spent here at the climbing wall. All right, so now we are in boys camp. In boys camp, there are 3 main cabins for the boys: Dunwoody, Seneca, and Norman. Behind me that you can't really see is Norman, which is typically for the oldest boys in camp. It's actually a much larger building, which is why there's only 3 cabins in boys camp than the 4 that are in girls camp. It can hold many more people there. Seneca is here in the background off to your left, and it holds typically the middle school boys. And Dunwoody, we'll see in a minute, it's down behind us a little bit, is for the younger boys. this here to the side is also JFK, which is the wash facility and bathhouse for the boys camp area. In addition, we'll see in a minute some cabins up here in Boys Camp. The old White Pine Cabin, which is one of the original property cabins, dates back to the 1920s. And then Genesee Cabin and Bina, which holds staff, the Christian Science nurse, and a quiet room space for the boys if they need to be out of program. And then at the far back side, way up there on the back of that hill behind me there, is the soccer field, which is just a big soccer field for athletics or other activities outside, and is a real popular place to hang out here in Boys Camp. So this is Dunwoody, and as I mentioned before, it's one of the 3 cabins for the boys, typically for the youngest boys in camp. This one was built in 2003. There was an old original Dunwoody down, and there's nothing there at this point, but it's down closer to the lake. That's just off to the left side here of the video. And it was an old building, and really well known that people that have been here, coming here from the early days of Crystal Lake, it was a popular place to be because of its closeness to the lake and other parts of that. But Dunwoody's just been a cabin that has been here for a long time. Just this is a newer version of it, and continues to be a key part of Boys Camp. So this is Bina, which is where the Christian Science nurse and the quiet room for boys is during the summer. Interesting story about Bina. The name actually was the original name to Laughlin Lodge, where we started the video, where the office and the old historic building is. That was originally called Bina Lodge. But when the Alford family bought and opened Crystal Lake Camps, they bought it from the Laughlin family, which was a Christian Science family based in the Washington, D.C. area. And they wanted to name something important at camp after that family. So they renamed the lodge Laughlin Lodge, but they wanted to also maintain the name Bina. So they put that on this cabin here, which has been here since the camp got going in the late 40s. And so just a little interesting trivial piece about the name Bina here at Crystal Lake Camps. So this is Wild Rice Lake. We're here in Boys Camp. And so earlier in the video, I mentioned that up until 1971, the camp ran separate boys and girls programs. And so this was the lake that the boys used. There's lots of great old photographs of activity going on down here. In 1971, when they unified the program as a co-ed program, all water activities then moved to Crystal Lake down in the girls' camp area. It's a little bit more user-friendly there than this place. But still is a great lake here, very scenic. We still do fishing and other things on it here. And it's just a great, nice spot for the boys here. We're in the little field where the boys do flag raising and morning calisthenics and activities and announcements, and has a great sunrise here, and it's a beautiful spot at the far corner of Boys Camp.